My name is Leo. Today was supposed to be the best day. It was my first day at university. I had a brand new bag on my back. It was bright blue, my favorite color. I had new pens and shiny notebooks inside it. I even wore my best jeans, the ones without any holes. I walked onto the big university campus and my heart was beating like a little drum. I thought this was it. This was my big chance. I was going to make lots of new friends. I was going to learn amazing things. Everything was going to be different now. I felt a big smile stretch across my face as I looked at all the old, important-looking buildings around me. I imagined myself sitting in a big lecture hall, listening to a clever professor. I pictured myself laughing with new friends in the cafeteria, sharing chips and silly stories. In my head, university was a magical place, a bit like in the films. Everyone was friendly and excited. No one would care that I was a bit quiet or that I liked to read comics instead of going to parties. This was a place for learning, for growing up. I took a deep breath of the fresh morning air. It smelled like cut grass and new beginnings. I felt a flutter of excitement in my tummy, the good kind. I was ready. I was so ready for this brand new start. But sometimes things don't go the way you plan them in your head. Sometimes the picture you paint is much prettier than the real thing. As I walked towards my first classroom, I started to feel a bit small. Everyone else seemed to know someone. They were in big, noisy groups, laughing and hugging. I didn't know a single person. My big, happy smile started to feel a bit wobbly. I pulled the straps of my new blue backpack tighter. It felt like a shield. I tried to look confident, like I knew exactly where I was going, but inside, that little drum in my chest was starting to beat a bit faster, a bit more worried. I found my classroom, room 101. I slipped inside and found a seat near the back. I got out my new notebook and a pen, trying to look busy and important. I hoped someone would come and sit next to me and say hello. Maybe they would ask my name. Maybe they would like my backpack. But the empty chairs around me stayed empty for a long time. People came in, looked at me, and then chose to sit somewhere else. The happy feeling I had this morning was starting to melt away, like an ice lolly left out in the sun. It was being replaced by that old, familiar feeling, the one I hated, the feeling of being invisible. A group of boys came in. They were loud and full of jokes. They sat in the row right behind me. I tried not to look at them. I just stared at the blank page in my notebook. But then I heard it, a quiet laugh. "Check out his bag," one of them whispered. "Did his mum buy him that?" Another one sniggered. "It's so bright. I think my eyes are hurting." My hands felt clammy. I wanted to shrink and disappear under the desk. My lovely blue bag, the one I had picked out so carefully, suddenly felt silly and childish. I wanted to hide it. I wanted to be anywhere but here. I pretended I couldn't hear them. I started to doodle in my notebook, drawing little stars and planets, but the whispers got louder. They weren't really whispers anymore. They were meant for me to hear. "Hey, bag boy," one of them called out softly. I didn't turn around. My face was hot and red. I could feel my ears burning. Why were they doing this? They didn't even know me. What had I done wrong? I just wanted to sit here and learn. I just wanted to be left alone. The excitement I had felt was all gone now. All that was left was a heavy, sinking feeling in my stomach, like I'd swallowed a stone. My heart ached. This was supposed to be different. This was university. Weren't people supposed to be more grown up here? It felt just like my old school. The same pointing, the same laughing, the same feeling of being on the outside, looking in. I bit my lip to stop it from trembling. I told myself not to cry. Crying would only make it worse. They would just laugh even more. So I sat there, very still, and listened to them making jokes about my hair, my clothes, my bright blue bag. Each word was like a little paper cut, stinging and sharp. I just wanted the class to start. I hoped the teacher would come in and make them be quiet. Teachers were supposed to make you feel safe, weren't they? They were the grown-ups who were in charge. I looked at the clock on the wall. The big hand was moving so slowly, it was like it was stuck in treacle. Please, I thought, please just make it stop. I didn't want to be bag boy, I just wanted to be Leo. But it felt like Leo had been left outside the university gates, and only this new silly version of me had been allowed inside the classroom. A version of me that everyone thought was a joke. Then the teacher came in. His name was Mr. Harrison. He had a big booming voice and a serious face. For a moment I felt a wave of relief. The boys behind me went quiet. I thought, he will save me. He will make things right. He started the lesson, talking about history and famous old kings. I tried to listen. I really did. I wanted to learn. I even put my hand up to answer a question. I knew the answer. It was about King Henry VIII. I thought if I got it right, maybe Mr. Harrison would see that I was a good student. Maybe the other kids would stop teasing me. Mr. Harrison looked at me. His eyes scanned me up and down, from my hair to my shoes. He didn't ask me for the answer. Instead, a strange little smile played on his lips. "Well, well," he said, his voice echoing in the silent room. "Look what we have here. Eager, are we?" He didn't look at anyone else, just me. The boys behind me started to snicker again, quietly this time. "What's your name, son?" he asked. "Leo," I mumbled, my voice barely a whisper. "Leo," he repeated slowly. "And what's with the backpack?" He pointed at my bag on the floor. "Planning on going camping after class, Leo?" The whole class erupted in laughter. It was loud, horrible laughter. It felt like a physical blow, pushing me down into my seat. My face was on fire. I couldn't believe it. The teacher, the one person who was supposed to help. He was joining in, he was leading them. My eyes started to sting with tears and I blinked them back furiously. I couldn't look at him. I just stared at my desk, at the wood grain, at my stupid doodles. I felt so small, so utterly humiliated. It was worse than anything the boys had said. This was a grown-up, a man in charge, and he was making fun of me. "Cat got your tongue, Leo?" Mr. Harrison boomed, enjoying the show. "I asked you a question." He walked closer to my desk, looming over me. I felt trapped. Everyone was watching me, waiting. What could I say? My mind was completely blank. All I could think about was how much I wanted to be invisible. I wished the floor would open up and swallow me whole. This wasn't a classroom anymore. It was a stage and I was the fool in the spotlight. And the ringmaster, the person in charge of my humiliation, was my own teacher. The person I was supposed to trust. I don't know, I stammered, looking at my hands. I just wanted him to move on, to pick on someone else, to go back to talking about kings. But Mr. Harrison wasn't finished with me. "You don't know?" he said, his voice dripping with sarcasm. "You put your hand up to answer a question about history, but you can't even explain your own fashion choices?" He shook his head in mock disappointment. "I think, Leo," he said loudly for everyone to hear, "that if you can't participate properly, perhaps you shouldn't be here at all. Why don't you take your bag and leave my classroom?" For a second I thought he was joking. I looked up hoping to see a smile. But his face was hard. He was serious. He was actually throwing me out of my very first class on my very first day. The silence in the room was deafening. I could feel every single pair of eyes on me as I slowly stood up. My legs felt like jelly. I fumbled with my new bag, its bright blue color now seeming to scream at me. I slung it over my shoulder and without looking at anyone I started the long, lonely walk to the door. Every step felt like a mile, my walk of shame. Once I was outside in the empty corridor, the tears finally came. I leaned against the cool wall and just let them fall. Hot, angry, sad tears. How could this happen? How could a place of new beginnings feel so much like an end? I thought about giving up. I could just go home. I could tell my mom I was sick. I could never come back to this horrible place with its mean students and its cruel teacher. The thought was so tempting. It would be easy to run away and hide. For a moment, I let myself believe that was the answer. Just quit. But then, something inside me shifted. A tiny spark of defiance. Why should I let them win? Why should I let Mr. Harrison and those boys chase me away from my dream? This was my future. I had worked so hard to get here. I wiped my tears with the back of my hand. No, I wasn't going to quit. They could laugh at my bag. They could call me names. The teacher could throw me out, but they couldn't take my courage. I took a deep breath. I would come back tomorrow, and the next day. I would hold my head high, carry my blue bag with pride, and I would prove them all wrong. I would not be broken. This was my story, and I would decide how it ends.